News time here on KCIM. Let's check back in with Nathan in the news studio.
Thank you very much, John, and good morning, everyone. Less than a week remains for residents to submit nominations for the Carroll Chamber of Commerce Award presentations that are scheduled for the 60th Annual Chamber Banquet coming up in February. Each year, the Chamber recognizes businesses and individuals who have positively impacted the community. Award categories include heritage business, new business, good neighbor, public service, humanitarian, as well as citizen of the year. The nomination criteria for each of those awards can be found included with this story on our website at 1380kcim.com. Submissions are due to the Chamber by Wednesday, January 10th, so a week from yesterday. They can be emailed to Business Development Director Roseanne Nace at r.nace@carrolliowa.com or by mail to the Chamber at P.O. Box 307, Carroll, Iowa 51401. The 60th Annual Chamber Banquet is scheduled for Thursday, February 8th. District 11 State Representative Brian Best of Glidden begins what will be his 10th and final year in the Iowa House on Monday when the state legislature convenes for the 2024 session. Best announced this fall he would not be seeking re-election after completing this current term. He was first elected in 2015 for District 12 and continued to serve in District 11 following the redistricting that went into effect in 2022. According to Best, there was not one specific reason for why he decided to call 2024 his final year.
Well, I'd always heard from other representatives that there's just something inside your brain that tells you, hey, it's time. And I think that that's just kind of what happened to me. Enjoyed the experience. When I first was elected, I really would have highly doubted that I would be in there for 10 years. I just saw it as something that I would do to serve my community and then come back to work just like it was intended back in the day when the forefathers came up with this whole plan. And so I think after 10 years, it's just time. It's just been a fantastic experience.
With one more session ahead of him, Best says there are two issues that he has pursued for the last decade that he'd like to see some legislative action on. The first being increased transparency and state oversight for pharmacy benefit managers. Best says they made some limited progress last year, but he hopes they can make additional progress this coming year. The other issue is a hands-free law restricting cell phone use while driving. The bill made it through the Iowa Senate last year, but stalled in the House.
I've already got a bill in place, and so I'll manage that bill and try to get it through. It's going to take some work again. The Senate and the House are two different animals, so it's kind of funny how it would breeze through the Senate, and then we hold it up on the House side. But I think as more and more information comes available to the public about the hazards and how many people die on the roads because of distracted driving from phones, and the data that you're much more likely to get into an accident if you are engrossed in your phone than if you're drunk. And so, I think we just have to look at those things. Nobody wants to take away the liberties that we have, but as a public safety issue, I think we have to really look hard at this. I hope we can get it done.
One of the other topics that is projected to be a key issue at the State House in 2024 is Iowa's income tax system. During the 2022 session, Governor Kim Reynolds signed a bill that progressively reduced the state's income tax brackets until the transition to a flat 3.9% for tax year 2026. Reynolds has indicated she hopes to eliminate Iowa's income tax by January of 2027. Best is not outright opposed to that idea, but he says the state needs to tread carefully if that is the route the legislature chooses.
The big question is, how do you get there? And how do you get there without affecting the services that you're providing for your state now? And so it has to be very well thought out and very well vetted. I think it's best to be cautious as we are now. I fully support the 3.9 that we're going to go to in 2026. We do have a huge amount of money in that rainy day fund that will make that work. And I think it would be something that would work ongoing, not just for a couple years, because the big thing is 5 years from now, if we have a bad year, we don't want to have to go back to the state taxpayers and say, hey, we're going to have to raise your taxes now.
An issue that was a chief focus for Best constituents in Crawford and Shelby counties last year did not gain much traction among Carroll County voters, and that was carbon dioxide pipelines. The legislature did not reach a consensus on how eminent domain should be regulated for such projects, and Best says they are in a bit of a holding pattern as the Iowa Utilities Board will not issue its ruling until other states on the pipeline's routes make their rulings.
Iowa Utility Board kind of said that until South Dakota makes a decision on what they're going to do, they're really kind of sitting and waiting because it's kind of a moot point if it can't get through South Dakota to where the carbon is supposed to end up at. So that kind of just delayed everything. I think some of the companies were a little bit heavy-handed, and they went through and basically just threatened some of the farmers that they were going to take it either way, eminent domain, if you don't want to cooperate. And so we don't want to see eminent domain used as a weapon And so I think that there's a lot of us in the House that kind of feel that way. And I think the House is probably going to be on the side of the farmer again this year.
Best made his comments during a live interview on KCIM Wednesday morning. You can find that full interview included with this story on our website. And we'll also be catching up with District 6 Senator Jason Schultz coming up in the 8 o'clock hour this morning. So be sure to tune in for that. And the Stewart Memorial Community Hospital Auxiliary is set to host its annual silent auction and trivia night fundraiser coming up next month at the Lake City Community Memorial Building. Doors will open at 5:45 p.m. on Saturday, February 17th, with dinner at 6 and trivia at 7 o'clock. That's hosted by MC Big Daddy Addy Brad Addison. The event will feature complimentary snacks, a cash bar, and rewards for the best dressed team and the team with the best table decor, encouraging participants to embrace themes and creativity. A wide array of gift baskets and items will be available for bidding at that silent auction, with all the proceeds benefiting the SMCH's auxiliary projects in the hospital and community. Registration sheets can be accessed via the QR code that can be found with this story on our website, or they can be picked up at the Lake City McCrory Roast Clinic. Completed registrations with payment should be returned to SMCH Auxiliary and Volunteer Coordinator Kristen Hall by February 2nd. Her contact details are also included online. And that will be wrapping up your Look at News here on KCIM. I'm Nathan Cohns reporting.
All right. Again, Jason Schultz, 8:06 this morning. We'll find out his little preview of the legislature coming up.
Yeah, when it comes to perspectives, what one particular representative or senator thinks is their key issue. A good example of that, again, if you have the time, listen to that full interview. There's so much that we talked about in there that just couldn't get fit into that, what I felt was a short recap, but still about 4 minutes long. But regardless, Senator Schultz is out of Crawford County. He's involved in the ag industry and has family with connections to that pipeline issue. So you go to Shelby County, go to their meetings in Harlan. Both Schultz and Best have mentioned this to me. You go to Harlan, it is the only thing they talk about.
Yeah.
You go to a Carroll County-based legislative forum. Comes up maybe once, and then people are kind of just like, hey, what's the deal with that? And then they go on their way because the pipelines are not really pushing through this part of the state.
Yeah, you don't hear much about it here locally, but boy, it's a huge issue down there. It's affecting their core economy. There is the ag business. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see Jason Schultz or hear Jason Schultz's takes on all of that. So appreciate the update, Nathan. Once again, you can find all of your local news and that Brian Best interview available at 1380kcim.com and through our mobile app.